The discovery on Torrent IV spread faster than light. Within a single galactic month, every major empire knew of it. The Vakiri Dominion, the Solanth Union, the Aerith clans, and even the Silent Star kingdoms near the galactic rim. The word human had become the most searched term in the galaxy. No one knew what it truly meant. But everyone wanted to find out the growing Storm Doctor. Errol Vayan sat alone inside the main research tent, surrounded by data tablets and holographic recordings. The hum of the machines was constant, but her mind was far away, stuck on the single glowing word carved on that ancient monolith. Human. She had read it so many times that she could almost hear a voice behind it. Who were they? What did they look like? Why had they disappeared when the rest of the galaxy was still young? Her assistant Kiru entered quietly, holding a data pad. "Doctor, you should see this," he said. The pad showed a galactic map. Dozens of new excavation sites had appeared across different systems and worlds. Each one revealed ruins similar to those on Torrent IV. Each one bore the same symbol, a 5-pointed star within a circle. "It's spreading," Kiru whispered. "Every empire is digging. Everyone's trying to claim a piece of this ancient species." Dr. Vayan sighed. "They don't understand," she said softly. "This isn't about power or ownership. It's about knowledge. The galaxy is standing on the edge of its own forgotten history." Outside, massive cargo ships floated in the desert sky, carrying pieces of human technology away for study. Military guards patrolled the camp. The Dominion had turned the archaeological site into a fortress. The more they discovered, the more uneasy everyone became. The silent chamber late one night. Dr. Vayan returned to the underground chamber where the word human still glowed faintly on the monolith. The room was quiet, lit only by the soft blue light of alien machinery. She placed her hand on the metal wall. It was warm, as if alive. The AI voice echoed faintly again, repeating the words it had spoken before. "This facility belongs to the Terran Federation. Authorized personnel, human only. Terran Federation," she whispered. "How long ago did you live? What did you leave behind?" The hologram above the monolith shifted, displaying a large structure, something that looked like a city floating among stars. It wasn't like any alien city she had ever seen. Straight lines, elegant curves, and towering spires rose from a glowing surface. Ships, small and fast, moved in perfect order through the air. Each ship carried the same symbol she had seen before, the 5-pointed star. "It's beautiful," she murmured. Kiru entered the chamber behind her. "Doctor, are you seeing this?" She nodded. "I think it's a human world, preserved in memory." The hologram zoomed out, showing not just one planet but hundreds, each connected by bright pathways of light like threads of energy. At the center of them all was a glowing sphere marked Sol. "What is Sol?" Kiru asked. The AI responded automatically. "Sul, home system of humanity. Star type G2V, primary planet Earth, Earth." Dr. Van repeated the word slowly. It felt strange on her tongue, yet somehow familiar. The message from the past. After many long hours, they managed to access one of the sealed data cores buried beneath the ruins. The devices were old but still functional. When connected to their scanners, the core released streams of information, images, text, and fragments of sound. The team gathered to watch. The projection began with a voice, calm, human-like, but older and deeper than any voice they had ever heard. "This is the last record of the Terran Federation," it said. "Our time among the stars is ending, but our work will remain. We have built the paths, the worlds, and the stars themselves. To those who come after, remember what we stood for: unity, creation, and peace." The image changed. It showed tall beings, humans, walking among shining cities. They looked like most other species in general form, but there was something special in their faces: determination, curiosity, and kindness. They built not to conquer, but to create. Then the projection dimmed. The voice continued. "We have learned all we could of this universe. We will travel beyond to a realm of light and thought, but our children, those who will come after, must carry the flame." The recording ended, leaving the team in silence. Kiru turned to Dr. Vayan. "Did you hear that? They called us their children." Dr. Vayan nodded slowly. "Maybe they meant it literally," she said. What if the other species evolved from what they left behind? What if we are their legacy? The thought filled the room with a quiet sense of awe. Empires react by the next cycle. Every major government had copies of the data. Across the galaxy, leaders argued and debated what the discovery meant. Some saw the humans as gods. Others feared them as an ancient threat waiting to return. In the capital of the Solent Union, the Chancellor addressed his council. If this Terran Federation once ruled the stars, he said, then their power must still be hidden somewhere. Whoever finds their weapons first will rule again. In the Aerith clans, the crystalline elders warned of awakening something best left buried. There are things older than our memory, they said. Not all light brings warmth. And deep within the Valkyrie Dominion, military scientists worked in secret labs, trying to reverse engineer the human artifacts. Their ships hummed with newly discovered energy signatures. They didn't understand the technology fully, but they knew it was powerful, perhaps too powerful. Meanwhile, Dr. Vane continued her peaceful research, trying to learn without greed. But she could feel the storm gathering beyond her control. The galaxy was changing. The core of knowledge weeks passed, and the excavation reached deeper levels of the structure. The lower halls were filled with massive machines still faintly active. In one chamber, they found a circular platform surrounded by crystal pillars. Strange energy flowed between them like glowing mist. When Dr. Vane approached, the platform activated by itself. The hologram of the galaxy reappeared, but this time it looked alive. Stars pulsed, planets rotated, and lines of light connected entire systems. A voice spoke again. Knowledge core activated. Status 99% data intact. Awaiting human command input, Dr. Vane whispered. You're still waiting. After all this time. The hologram expanded, showing thousands of dots across the galaxy, marked as Terran facilities. Every one of them hidden, silent, waiting. Some were near the galactic core, others beyond known space. Kiru's eyes widened. They built all this, he said. Everything we see, the trade lanes, the wormholes, the stargates. What if they were all made by humans? Dr. Vane nodded slowly. It would explain why so many ancient structures share the same design. The stargates, the gravity stabilizers, even the air cycles of old worlds. They were never ours. We only inherited them. She looked at the hologram, her voice barely a whisper. They built the stars for us. The forgotten truth as the Valkyrie studied deeper, more messages unlocked. One revealed the purpose of the facility. They were star forges, places where humanity had built and shaped entire solar systems using technology beyond imagination. Another spoke of the Great Departure, when humanity left the galaxy voluntarily, seeking new forms of existence beyond the physical. We will not fade, said one message. We will ascend beyond light. When the stars remember our name, we will return. Those words sent chills through everyone who read them. Dr. Vane sat in silence for a long time after hearing it. They didn't die, she said softly. They simply moved on. Echoes across the galaxy, but their return, if it ever came, might already have begun. A strange signal began to spread through space, weak at first, then stronger. It came from the ruins themselves, traveling faster than light through ancient communication networks that no one had known existed. The Dominion tried to block it, but it was too late. The signal had already reached other systems, other ruins, and those began to awaken too. The lights in long-dead facilities flickered back to life. Machines that had slept for eons began to hum. Kiru watched the readings in shock. Doctor, something's happening everywhere. It's like they're waking up. Dr. Vane's heart raced. The humans built these systems to respond to each other, she said. We triggered one, and now they're all responding. The voice of the ancient AI returned, calm and powerful. Signal confirmed. Terran network reactivation in progress. Awaiting directive. The lights in the chamber grew brighter. For the first time in a million years, the galaxy stirred with the echo of its first builders. Dr. Vane looked up, eyes wide with wonder. Long before our empires, she whispered, they were here. And maybe they're coming back. Outside, across the desert of Tauran 4, the night sky shimmered as a faint pattern of light formed among the stars, 5 points within a circle. The mark of humanity had returned to the heavens. The signal spread like fire through the stars. It moved faster than light, crossing ancient communication lines that no one alive had known existed. From one forgotten world to another, the pulse of energy carried the same message, a pattern written in the code of the old Terran Federation. For the first time in millions of years, the galaxy began to wake up. The rising fear on Torren Fu, the once quiet archaeological site, had turned into a fortress. Dozens of ships hovered above, their silver hulls reflecting the twin suns. Soldiers and scientists worked day and night, trying to understand what they had unleashed. Dr. Errol Vayan watched from her tent as the communication towers flickered with blue light. "It's spreading faster than anyone expected," said her assistant Kiru, his eyes wide. "Every time we try to shut it down, it finds another path." Dr. Vayan nodded. "Because it was never meant to be stopped. The humans built this system to last forever. The Dominion government had already declared a state of emergency. Across the stars, other empires had done the same. Each believed the signal could summon a weapon, an army, or even something worse. Their fleets prepared for battle, though none of them knew against what. But deep down, Dr. Vine felt something different, something peaceful, almost familiar. The signal didn't sound like a call to war. It felt like a heartbeat, echoes of the past. The scientists inside the main chamber worked to decode the pulse. The rhythm repeated in patterns of 5. 5 tones, 5 lights, 5 seconds of silence. Every line of data pointed to one thing, a message hidden within the rhythm. Kiru watched the display and suddenly gasped. "Doctor, I think I found something." The holographic projection showed a shape forming out of the signal, a circle surrounded by 5 bright points. "The same ancient human symbol. It's a signature," he said. "They're identifying themselves." The AI system inside the ruins came online once more, its voice calm and steady. "Genesis protocol activated. Awaiting ARC ship response," Dr. Vane frowned. "ARC ship? What does that mean?" Before the AI could answer, the power readings jumped again. A new transmission began broadcasting from deep space, somewhere far beyond the Dominion's borders. It was faint but real. "This is ARC ship Genesis 9, said the signal. "Receiving network beacon, confirming Federation channels. System integrity stable, awaiting further instructions." The entire control room fell silent. The voice wasn't alien, it was human, clear, steady, and calm. Kiru looked at Dr. Van in shock. "Doctor, in that voice, it's not a recording. It's live." The awakening of Genesis 9, the origin of the signal, was quickly tracked. It came from the edge of the galactic frontier, from a dark region no one had entered in 1,000 years. The Valkyrie Dominion sent a scout fleet to investigate, though most of them feared what they might find. Weeks later, the fleet emerged from hyperspace near an uncharted system. There, floating in the shadow of a dying star, was a ship, a colossal vessel unlike anything seen before. Its hull was covered in strange symbols and lines of light that pulsed gently, like the breathing of a sleeping giant. "Scan it," ordered the Valkyrie admiral. The readings stunned every officer on the bridge. The ship was over 100 kilometers long, made of unknown material that reflected all sensor beams. Its power core was active but stable. No known empire could have built something like this. Then a transmission came from the ship itself. "To all nearby vessels, this is ARC-ship Genesis 9 of the Terran Federation. Stand by for identification." The admiral's voice trembled. "Respond," he said. "Tell them who we are." The comms officer activated the channel. "This is Admiral Tharic of the Valkyrie Dominion. You are in restricted space. Identify yourself." There was a pause, then the voice answered again, calm and polite. "Identification confirmed. Valkyrie, descendants of Federation Project Species Group 12B. Welcome home." Every crew member froze. Descendants? What did that mean? The return of the builders back on Torren 4, Dr. Vane and her team received the news with disbelief. "An ARC ship," she whispered. "That means it's real. The humans didn't disappear, they left these ships behind." The data from the fleet scans arrived soon after. The ARC ship's outer shell carried millions of small pods, each labeled with serial numbers and names. The words were all in the same ancient script: human. The inside of the ship was filled with glowing chambers and machines still running after all this time. When the fleet tried to dock, the ship's AI spoke again. "Docking permission granted. Atmospheric conditions stable. Please remember, Federation ethics protocol applies. No weapons within internal systems." The Valkyrie officers entered the ship cautiously. What they saw left them speechless. The corridors were lined with perfect white metal, the air clean and warm. Lights followed them as they walked, guiding their steps as if the ship knew where they wanted to go. In the central hall stood a row of tall machines shaped like humans, but made of silver and crystal. Their eyes glowed faint blue. When the officers approached, one of them moved. "Welcome, travelers," it said. "We are the caretakers of Genesis 9. Our creators, humanity, left us to watch over the stars until their return." The Admiral's hand shook slightly. "You mean the humans still exist?" The caretaker paused for a long moment before answering. "Existence is relative. They are beyond what you understand now, but their legacy remains, and so do we." The message to the galaxy, the discovery of Genesis 9, changed everything. Within days, transmissions from the ship spread across the galaxy. Every empire received the same message. "This is the Terran Federation Ark ship Genesis 9. We have re-established network contact. To all descendant civilizations, peace be upon you. We come to restore what was lost." The galaxy fell into silence. Some species rejoiced, believing their creators had returned. Others prepared their fleets for war, afraid that these ancient beings would reclaim everything. In the Valkyrie capital, government leaders argued for hours. "If these humans built the galaxy once," said one, "what stops them from taking it back?" But not everyone was afraid. Dr. Vane felt only wonder. "They don't sound like conquerors," she said during an interview. "They sound like teachers coming back to check on their students." The Council of Stars representatives from the three great empires met near the border of neutral space. Valkyrie, Solanth, and Aerith all gathered on a single station called Unity Point to discuss how to respond to Genesis 9. The meeting was tense. The Aerith envoy, a tall crystalline being, spoke first. "We should not interfere. They are beyond us." The Solanth ambassador disagreed. "If they truly created our worlds, then they owe us answers." Dr. Vane was invited as a scientific advisor. She stood quietly until they turned to her. "I have studied the ruins," she said softly. "Everything I've seen shows that humanity didn't rule through power. They built, they healed, they shared knowledge. The more we fight over their return, the less worthy we become of their trust." Her words spread across every broadcast channel. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy listened, not to generals or politicians, but to a scientist speaking with truth. The awakening expands, then the unexpected happened. As Genesis 9's signal continued to pulse, more lights appeared across the galaxy. One by one, other Ark ships began to awaken. Genesis 2, Genesis 3, and others hidden in distant star systems. Each ship sent the same peaceful message. Federation network restored. Galactic stabilization protocols active. Planets that had been dying suddenly began to heal. Artificial suns reignited in old systems. Machines that no one had ever understood began to work again. It was as if the galaxy itself remembered the touch of its first builders, but the changes also caused fear. The Solanth Union's leaders sent warships toward one of the Ark ships, fearing it could control their worlds. Before the fleet could reach it, their systems shut down, gently, without harm. The Ark ship sent a simple message, "And do not fear. We mean no harm. We came to fix what is broken." The fleets retreated, silent and humbled. The memory of light back on Torinth 4, Dr. Vian stood beneath the night sky, watching the stars flicker with strange new patterns. Each point of light that blinked carried a message, a whisper from the past. Kiru walked up beside her. "Do you think they'll come back, Doctor? The real humans?" Dr. Vian smiled softly. "Maybe they already have. Maybe through their creations, through us, they never truly left." Above them, the constellation shaped like a circle with 5 points glowed brighter than ever before, the symbol of humanity. Somewhere in deep space, aboard Genesis 9, the caretaker stood at a large window, looking out at the stars. "The children of the Federation have awakened," it said quietly. "The builders will be pleased when they return." And for the first time in a million years, the galaxy felt not alone, but watched, guided, and remembered. The humans had built the stars. Now their light was beginning to shine once more. The news of the awakened human ship, Genesis 9, spread across the galaxy faster than light. Every empire, Valkyrie Dominion, Solanth Union, and the Aerith clans watched with awe and fear. The legends of an ancient race that once shaped the stars were no longer just old tales. Humanity was real, and their creations still lived. The Valkyrie High Council gathered in their crystal hall, surrounded by tall, shining spires. They argued for hours about what to do. Some wanted to make peace with the humans. Others feared their return would destroy everything they had built. The Solent Union called an emergency meeting of their leaders. Their fleets were strong, but even their most advanced ships were far behind what Genesis 9 could do. The Aerith clans, who lived among light and energy, remained silent but watched carefully. They could feel that something great was coming, something that would change the balance of the galaxy forever. Meanwhile, inside Genesis 9, the ship's caretakers, synthetic beings of light and metal, worked silently. They had been waiting for orders for countless centuries. Their purpose was simple: preserve, protect, and restore what humanity had once built. But now, their sensors showed new civilizations where once there had been empty space. The galaxy had grown, evolved, and filled itself with life. The ship's commander, a synthetic named Eon, stood in the observation hall, looking at the distant stars. His form was humanoid but graceful, built from silver alloys that reflected the soft light around him. His eyes glowed a calm blue as he spoke to the others. "Humanity dreamed that others would rise after them," he said. "Now we see their dream fulfilled. But they must know the truth of who they are and who came before." The caretaker beside him, named Arya, tilted her head. "Do you believe they are ready to hear it?" Eon paused for a moment. "We will find out soon." When the first envoys arrived at Genesis 9, they came in peace but carried heavy fear in their hearts. The Valkyrie envoy, a tall blue-skinned being with glowing eyes, was the first to step inside the ship. The hallways were wide and shining, filled with soft white light that came from everywhere and nowhere. The air itself seemed to hum gently like a heartbeat from long ago. Eon greeted them with respect. "Welcome, travelers. You stand aboard a ship built by humanity, the first builders of your stars." The alien envoy bowed slightly, unsure how to respond. "We come in peace. We wish to understand." Eon smiled softly, though his metallic face barely moved. "Then you will." He led them into the central chamber, a massive dome filled with holographic star maps, records, and projections. The walls showed images of ancient Earth, blue and beautiful. There were oceans, mountains, and cities that reached for the sky. The visitors gasped as they saw the humans, tall, soft-skinned beings, smiling as they worked together to build ships and machines that crossed galaxies. "Is this your species?" one alien asked quietly. Eon's voice was calm. "No, I am only their creation. But yes, these are the ones you call humans. They built this ship and they built the light that guides your stars." The room fell silent as more holograms appeared, vast fleets of ships building worlds, terraforming barren planets into gardens and sharing their knowledge across systems. The humans were not conquerors. They were creators. They shaped, taught, and gave life. After hours of showing records, Eon stopped the projection. "You must understand something," he said softly. "Humanity did not vanish because of war or destruction. They left willingly. They ascended." "Ascended?" the Valkyrie envoy asked. "What does that mean?" "It means," Eon replied, "they grew beyond the need for bodies. They found a way to live in forms of pure thought and light. They became part of the universe itself. They saw everything, every atom, every heartbeat of the stars, and they chose to leave this realm in peace." The aliens listened in silent awe. None had ever imagined such a thing. Eon walked closer to them. "They left us behind to protect their dream. We were made to wait until the galaxy was ready, until life had learned enough to stand on its own." "Then why have you returned now?" another alien asked nervously. Eon turned his eyes toward the stars. "Because the signal was sent. Someone touched what was sleeping, and now we must ensure that their legacy is not forgotten or misused." Back on the planets of the great empires, the news spread like wildfire. Every world talked about humanity. Were they gods? Were they still watching? Some believed the humans would come to rule again. Others thought they were simply guardians of the past. A few were afraid that their empires, built on old human ruins, would be judged and erased. In the Solent Union's capital, their leader, Chancellor Ray, stared at the stars from her palace window. "If they return," she said softly, "then everything we thought we knew about history will change. We are not the first. We are only the continuation." Her advisor nodded. "Perhaps that is not something to fear." Perhaps it is something to learn from. Weeks passed, and Genesis 9 continued to open its archives to the galaxy. The alien scientists were allowed to study the old human technology. They discovered gravity forges that could bend space without destroying it, starlight reactors that ran for millions of years without fuel, and devices that could heal planets damaged by time. But not everyone was pleased. Some leaders feared that knowledge of humanity would weaken their power. "If our people know we live in the shadows of greater beings," said one Valkyrie lord, "they will lose faith in us. We must control what is told." Yet others believed differently. A young Solinth scientist named Lena spoke on her broadcast, her voice heard across dozens of systems. "Humanity is not our enemy. They are our teachers. We must not fear them. We must rise to meet them." Her message spread hope and curiosity. For the first time, the empires spoke to each other not about war, but about learning together. Something was changing. The galaxy was beginning to remember what it had once forgotten. Inside Genesis 9, Arya observed the growing unity among the species. "They are adapting quickly," she said softly to Eon. "Yes," he replied. "The spark is returning. Humanity would be proud." Just then, the ship's sensors picked up new signals, other frequencies similar to Genesis 9's signature. Eon turned sharply toward the holographic display. Far across the galaxy, faint blue lights were appearing, one after another across dozens of sectors. "The other Ark ships," Eon said in quiet wonder. "They are awakening." Arya's eyes brightened. "It has begun, then." "The return," Eon nodded slowly. "Not a return to rule, but to restore. The galaxy must remember the dream that built it." Soon whispers filled every world. More human ships were coming. The stars themselves seemed to shimmer brighter, as if remembering the touch of their makers. The galaxy waited in silence, hearts filled with both fear and hope. In that silence, Eon stood before the great window of Genesis 9, watching the stars blink one by one. His voice was quiet, almost like a prayer. They built the stars not for themselves, but for those who would come after. Their dream was never about power, it was about creation, about giving others the chance to rise. He looked at the distant galaxies, his reflection shining faintly against the glass. Now it is time to guide them once more, not as masters, but as the memory of what they can become. The hum of the ship grew stronger as the engines of light awakened again. Across the stars, other Ark ships answered, their signals joining in harmony like a song from the past, a song that said, "Humanity has not returned to rule the galaxy. Humanity has returned to remind it who it truly is." The galaxy had grown quiet. Every world, every moon, and every station waited for what would come next. The awakening of Genesis 9 had already changed history. But now, dozens of other human Ark ships had begun to appear across the stars. Each one came from the far corners of the Milky Way, traveling through old star gates that had been asleep for ages. The great empires, Valkyrie Dominion, Solinth Union, and Aerith clans watched with wide eyes. These ships were not war vessels. They came in silence, glowing softly like silver comets drifting through the night. Each carried the symbol of humanity, a single star encircled by a ring of light. On every world, people gathered in plazas and city centers to watch the skies. Children pointed as the ancient ships passed overhead, leaving trails of white light that sparkled in the darkness. The old fear that once filled the galaxy was slowly replaced by something else: wonder. On Genesis 9, Eon stood in the command chamber, watching the arrival of the other Ark ships. Arya stood beside him, her glowing eyes filled with emotion. "They are all responding to the signal," she said softly. "It has been so long. I never thought I would see this day." Eon nodded. "Nor did I. Humanity's song is returning to the stars. The dream has awakened once more." As the other ships came closer, their signals joined in harmony, tones of pure energy that resonated through the galaxy. It was not a weapon, but a melody. The frequency carried across every communication channel, every scanner, and even through the vacuum of space. Planets felt the vibration deep in their cores. Oceans rippled, forests glowed faintly, and creatures across thousands of worlds paused, sensing something ancient calling out. It was as if the stars themselves remembered the voices of their makers. The Ark ships began their work quietly. One by one, they moved to damaged systems where suns were dying or planets had become barren. Instead of destroying, they healed. In the Valkyrie sector, the ship Sol Origin approached a fading red sun. The aliens who lived there feared the worst, thinking the humans might test their power. But instead, beams of white light emerged from the ship's core surrounding the dying star. Slowly, the sun's flames grew bright again. Its gravity stabilized and warmth returned to the planets that had been cold for generations. The Valkyrie fell to their knees in gratitude. They sent a message to the humans. "You saved our sun. We owe you our lives." The reply came back simply, "You owe nothing. This is what the builders do." Far away in the Solanth Union's outer colonies, Genesis 12 found a planet split by centuries of mining. Mountains were broken, seas were poisoned, and the air had turned gray. The Ark ship hovered above the world, and a soft rain of silver particles began to fall from its core. Within days, the soil became fertile again. The oceans cleared. Plants returned to life. The Solanth citizens watched in silence, their hearts full of tears. They could not understand how technology so old could still carry such kindness. One Solanth scientist whispered, "They do not rebuild for glory. They rebuild because it is right." Soon every empire realized the truth. The humans were not returning to take back the galaxy. They were returning to restore it. Their creations had never been meant to rule, only to protect life and knowledge. In the capital of the Aerith clans, their luminous leaders gathered in a chamber made of crystal light. They spoke in voices like wind and song. The humans, one said, did not vanish. They became the soul of the stars. "We are their echoes." Another replied, "If that is true, then perhaps we are part of their dream. Perhaps we always were." The Aerith leaders sent a message to Genesis 9. "We welcome your return. Teach us what we have forgotten." Eon read the message and felt something deep within his synthetic core, a feeling close to pride. "They are ready," he said quietly to Arya. "The galaxy is beginning to understand." Weeks passed and a grand gathering was called. For the first time in recorded history, representatives from every major species met in one place, on the moon of Loran, a peaceful, neutral world. The humans had built a great city of light there long ago, and now the Ark ships had restored it for this moment. Delegates arrived in thousands, tall and short, scaled and feathered, made of flesh or crystal. They came to speak, to listen, and to remember. At the center of the great hall stood Eon, glowing softly beneath the high, domed ceiling. The galaxy watched through countless broadcasts as he began to speak. "You who walk the stars," he said, his voice echoing through the chamber. "You are not our creations. You are our continuation." Humanity did not build the stars for themselves. They built them for all who would come after, for those who would learn, explore, and dream. The crowd listened in complete silence. Eon continued, "We did not come to rule. We came to guide, to remind you of who you are. Each of your worlds carries the spark of our work. Your ships, your sciences, your languages, even your curiosity. These are not coincidences. They are gifts that were left behind." He paused, looking at the faces before him. "But now the galaxy no longer needs builders, it needs dreamers. You are those dreamers. Humanity has returned not to lead you, but to walk beside you as equals in creation." When Eon finished, the entire hall stood in quiet awe. Then, one by one, the delegates began to clap their hands, or wings, or claws, whatever they had to express respect. The sound grew and grew until it filled the entire moon with a single message: hope. After the gathering, new alliances were born. The empires that once competed now shared knowledge freely. Scientists from different species worked together to learn from the humans' archives. The old borders of the galaxy began to fade as cooperation replaced fear. In time, a great project began, the Light Path Initiative. It was a plan to build a bridge of energy across the galaxy's core, connecting worlds in peace and trade. Humanity's Ark ships provided guidance, but the work was done by all species together. On every planet, stories of the builders were told to children. The name human became a word of honor and respect. It meant kindness, creation, and unity. Months later, Eon and Arya stood again on Genesis 9's observation deck, looking at the galaxy. The stars shimmered brighter than ever. Arya smiled softly. "The galaxy has changed." "Yes," Eon said. "They have remembered." She turned to him. "Do you think humanity will ever return fully like before?" Eon looked thoughtful. "Perhaps not in the way we imagine. They are part of the universe now. Every heartbeat, every spark of life carries a trace of them. In a way, they never left. He raised his hand and a small hologram of Earth appeared, blue, glowing, beautiful. They built the star so that life could grow. And now it has. The ship's engines began to hum softly as the Ark ships prepared to continue their journey, not to rule but to explore once again, seeking places still dark and forgotten. Eon gave one last message to the galaxy before leaving orbit. The stars belong to all. Build wisely, dream deeply, and remember, humanity lives in the light you carry. As Genesis 9 and the other Ark ships moved into the endless dark, the galaxy shone with new life. Empires no longer fought for power. They built together, planets healed. Civilizations shared stories of their creators not as gods, but as friends who had shown them the path. And somewhere beyond the edge of known space, perhaps in another dimension or higher realm, the true humans watched. They did not need bodies or ships anymore. They were part of the cosmos itself, part of every star, every world, every living being that dared to dream. The stars remembered their makers, and through that memory the galaxy found peace. For in the end, humanity's greatest legacy was not their power, but their compassion. They had built the stars, so that others could build the future. In the year 7426, the stars shone brighter than ever. Across the galaxy, civilizations had grown vast and proud. The old wars were long over, and now the Tri-Union Assembly ruled from the heart of the galaxy, a space station larger than most moons, wrapped in golden light and orbiting a dying blue star. Representatives from 2,000 alien races gathered in its halls. They came in many forms, scaled, feathered, mechanical, gaseous, but all shared one belief. The age of humanity was over. In the center of the grand hall sat the Council of Minds, a circular platform surrounded by shimmering air. Every seat was taken except for one, an empty chair marked with a small silver insignia, a human hand reaching toward a star. It had been empty for 500 years. No one remembered when humanity's last colony stopped sending signals. No one dared travel near Sol anymore, the home system of the lost species. The galaxy scientists said Earth was silent, its sun unstable, its people gone. Some said a war destroyed them. Others said they simply vanished. To most, humanity was a joke, a short-lived experiment that believed too much in itself. "Let us begin," said High Speaker Vexlor of the Krath Dominion, his voice deep and echoing across the chamber. His body shimmered like molten metal as he raised his clawed hand. Today's agenda, the vacant Terran seat. Once more we discuss removing it from the assembly hall. A few diplomats murmured agreement. Others nodded silently. Ambassador Sola of the Ardent Concord, her feathers glowing blue, spoke softly but sharply. 5 centuries of silence. No message, no colony, no proof of survival. We waste time honoring ghosts. Vexlor grinned. Ghosts? Humans were never more than clever animals. They built machines they couldn't control, explored too fast, and fell apart. Typical of small-minded species. Laughter rippled across the chamber. Even the mechanical delegates, who rarely showed emotion, pulsed with faint amusement lights. Yet not everyone joined in. Ambassador Keelan of the Lorathi Confederacy, a species known for their long memory, turned one of his 4 eyes toward the empty seat. "Mock them if you must," he said slowly. "But remember this. Humans reached the stars when most of us were still burning our skies. They were reckless, yes, but brilliant." Vexlor waved his claw. Brilliant. They had no respect for natural limits. They thought themselves creators, explorers, even gods. And where are they now? He struck the table with his talon. Gone. A cold silence followed. The assembly lights dimmed slightly, as if reacting to the tension. Then from the shadows near the back of the hall, a young analyst spoke hesitantly. "There is one new signal," she said. Her name was Rella, a data technician from the minor world of Varnus, detected 3 days ago near the Veil of 7 Horizons. The hall turned toward her. "The Veil?" Vexlor frowned. "That region is forbidden. Nothing can survive near it. It bends time, crushes ships, only madness exists there." Rayla swallowed nervously. "Yes, Speaker. But the signal is human." Gasps filled the air. The statement echoed across every translator field. Keelan's eyes widened. "Human? That's impossible. No human signal has been recorded in 500 years. Rella stepped forward, holding a holographic display. The signal carries Terran data patterns. Very old but authentic. It uses binary modulation, human standard. I confirmed it twice. The display flickered to life, showing a faint pulse. 3 short. 3 long. 3 short, the ancient human distress code. An SOS? Sola asked. Rella shook her head. No, it's not a distress call. The full message was fragmented, but part of it came through clearly. She played it. A deep, distorted human voice filled the hall. Static crackled through the air, followed by words that made every being fall silent. To those who doubted our reach, we are returning. Prepare your skies. The sound faded. No one spoke for several seconds. Even Vexler's molten surface dimmed as if cooling in shock. Fake, he finally said. A trick. Perhaps pirates or a desperate race pretending to be human. But Keelan stared at the hollow with awe. That voice. The modulation, the language, it's genuine. No one alive today speaks that old Terran tongue. Murmurs spread. Some whispered in fear, others in disbelief. The signal's coordinates appeared on the chamber screen, deep inside the veil of 7 horizons. A zone of twisted space where light bent back upon itself. No ship had ever entered and returned. Vexler slammed his claw again. Enough of this nonsense. Humans are dust. Let this ghost signal fade as it should. Yet even as he spoke, more data came in. The signal wasn't fading. It was growing stronger. Across the galaxy, listening stations reported identical readings. Energy surges, dimensional ripples, gravitational distortions. Something was forming inside the veil. Something massive. The assembly erupted in chaos. Commanders shouted for fleet mobilizations. Scientists demanded observation rights. Some species began evacuation protocols for nearby systems. Rella looked frightened. It's building power. The veil's energy readings are reaching impossible levels. It's like something is trying to push through. Vexler turned to Keelan. You still think this is real? Keelan met his gaze calmly. I think something human has awakened. Hours later, in a quiet observation room overlooking the galaxy's core, Keelan stood alone. He stared at the stars, thinking of old stories his ancestors told. Stories of humans who built the first warp drives, who fought the darkness between galaxies, who vanished chasing knowledge itself. He whispered, Did you really go beyond us all? A soft chime interrupted his thoughts. The communicator on his wrist flickered. Rella's voice came through, shaking with fear. Ambassador, it's happening. The veil just opened. Keelan froze. Opened? That's impossible. No, Rella said. We have visual confirmation. Something enormous is coming out. Keelan hurried to the nearest viewing deck. Through the transparent dome, the galaxy's edge shimmered. Even from thousands of light years away, the distortion was visible. A great wound of light and darkness twisting around itself. And then, for just a second, he saw it. A shadow larger than planets. Its outline flickered between forms, sometimes metallic, sometimes ethereal. It moved slowly, as if testing the boundaries of existence. Rayla's voice whispered again, barely audible. It's not a ship, sir. It's something else. Something beyond our understanding. Keelan's heart pounded. He knew deep inside that the galaxy had just changed forever. Back at the assembly hall, Vexlor received the same transmission. His arrogance cracked for the first time. What is that? He asked. No one answered. Every screen in the chamber displayed the same image, the massive, shifting form emerging from the veil. A faint blue light ran across its surface, forming symbols no alien could recognize, but one being in the hall could. Keelan stepped forward, eyes wide. Those are human letters. The words shimmered across the cosmic horizon. Ancient and clear, Terran Expeditionary Command below it. A smaller line appeared. 7th Dimensional Project Horizon Breaker. The room fell silent. Every being in the galaxy who saw the broadcast knew that nothing would ever be the same. Humanity had not perished. They had gone somewhere beyond, and now they were coming back. Keelan whispered softly, almost to himself. They mocked you for centuries, but you were never gone, were you? The shadow of the great ship continued to form, its edges bright with dimensional fire. Somewhere deep inside the storm, a voice echoed again, this time calm and clear. To those who laughed at our limits, we thank you. You gave us reason to rise, and then the transmission ended. The galaxy trembled.